Welcome back to Bay State Yankees Coffee Club. Today is August 26th. It's a beautiful late summer day in New England. 80 degrees outside right now. It gets cooler in the evening in the mid 50s. Humidity's gone. Kids are back in school, so they're gone. Parents are rejoicing. It's probably a wine party somewhere, and everybody's happy. So today I decided I would do an update on my Gorilla Cart. We purchased this in October of 2022, and it wasn't a purchase I had planned on. I had a flat tire on my other cart, and I needed to borrow a cart from my neighbor. And he happened to have a Gorilla Cart. And I had seen him hauling it around the yard and stuff, you know, and I didn't think too much about it, but I borrowed this thing, and within an hour, I decided I needed to have one. I couldn't live without it. The four wheels on the ground, as opposed to the two that I had, allowed me to carry more weight and manipulate it, park it in areas, you know, and not have to keep lifting it. You know, I could just roll it a little bit and not have to lift. This unit can hold 1,200 pounds. The maximum dumping load capacity is 500. So it's like, it says do not exceed more than 5 miles an hour. I don't walk that fast. So in any event, we've been using it now for 4 years. And I have made some adjustments to it, not factory adjustments, but you'll see what I mean. I've made some adjustments or upgrades to it, and I've had one minor problem with it. And we're going to go over that. But right now, I'm going to take you outside where the cart is, and we can compare the Gorilla Cart with the cart that I had and still have. And I can give you the pluses and minuses of both. So if you're searching for a cart, you know, it might be good information for you. In any case, without further ado, let's go on outside and get some fresh air, and I'll show you the carts. So these are the sides we made for the Gorilla Cart. I made the mistake of using hardwood and pieces that were too thick, and I was kind of in a hurry at the time when I put this together. We had a really big project with some big branches of arborvitaes that we were taking down, and we had to move them quite a distance. So long story short, I just, instead of going out and getting what I needed, I grabbed something off the shelf that I had laying around, and it was all hardwood, and it's thicker and heavier than, you know, simple pine, softwood or something. Didn't think about it at the time. Now this was 3 years ago in October of 22. So, you know, the weight didn't seem to bother me back then. So I threw this together, and it worked really, really well. And I've used it a few times since, but I tend to now only use it in the fall if we're doing leaves. You know, I can get a lot of leaves in there rather than just the regular bin, you know, up to here, so they're not all over. And we also have a number of those tall pampas grass bushes that get pruned in the fall. You know, in late fall, we cut them way down almost to the ground, and then they regrow. Well, if you've ever seen them, you know, they're really bushy and hard to deal with. So I I basically tie a rope around them and tie it tight, and then simply sever it at the ground with a pair of electric hedge trimmers. And then I can take that whole bundle and lay it here. And I remove this back piece, so I just have the two sides. And I can lay 3 or 4 of them in there so they don't fall. And then it's like a 200-foot trip to the compost area. So, that in effect works well. But someday I gotta reduce the size of these things, and the weight, simply by doing pine and, 1x3 or something. But overall, I'm kind of pleased with the way it worked out. Now this is the second upgrade we did. I built this probably 2 years ago. I got the idea of doing it because we compost a lot of stuff, and frequently we like to sift it before we put the finished stuff into the garden beds. So again, I used materials I just had hanging around, and I expected this to be accidentally left outside in the weather. So I had some pressure treated 2x4s, and that's what I did. And then I have basically 2x2s nailed underneath, and sandwiched in between I have that hardware cloth. Actually, I think that's screwed in, so I can replace the hardware cloth if I needed to. And then I have 6 stakes that match the holes and in the cart. So I just basically placed the stakes in there, and then made the framework to go inside the space, screwed it in, cut off the top, and away we went. I use this a lot, and it really, really works well. You can shovel the compost right into this, take the cart where you need to be, shovel the stuff in there, and then we use this little trowel to move it back and forth. Sometimes you have to. And then I always keep it like a 5-gallon bucket there, and I put the debris in there, which can go back into the compost. And then my finished product lands in the cart. And then with a flat shovel, I just dig it out and put it where I want to put it. I love this. And, it was something that before I used to have to set up 2 sawhorses, and I had a bigger screen, and just setting everything up was a real pain, and then to move it somewhere else was really out of the question. So it had to be in one specific area of the property. So we did this, and we use this frequently, but mostly in the spring. So this gets put away for the winter in the shed. Now, in comparison, this is the garden cart that we used. Oh man, I've had this for 20 years. And these were very popular in the 1980s. I think they were called Gardenway carts. I think that was a company that was the most prolific on the market. And it's basically a big cart, and it's got 2 bicycle wheels that keep going flat. I have rebuilt this thing twice. I wore out the bottom bracket there that it rests on, and I replaced it with another piece of salvage tubing that'll probably outlive me now. But the front piece lifts up, and so theoretically you could dump something, but it's a real pain to get stuff in and out and get the cover back in again. They always showed it in the ads. They'd be near a garden plot or something, and they would have this thing filled with bales of hay. And, it works great for moving something like that, but realistically, all your weight needs to be in the front half because it's balanced on that one axle. anything from the half point back, you are dead weight lifting. And it really is terrible moving firewood, because your tendency is to fill that whole thing with firewood and heap it up, thinking, oh, the wheels are going to take the weight. But you have to deadlift all that, and then you got to push it or pull it to where you're going. So we used it for a lot of years until we found this. I can haul 1,200 pounds with this thing, which is more weight than I can actually pull across the lawn, but I'm not sure about this. We still keep it, and it's still functional, and it has been used recently to move firewood, but to a smaller degree than what that has. I think these were like $100 at the time, but this is, like I said, it was plywood initially, and then I replaced it with plywood. I had left it out or something, it got wet and it rotted, so I replaced it with plywood, and then that wore out quickly doing gravel and rocks and stuff. And then the latest round is OSB, but I don't use it outside very often at all, and some years it never even comes out of the shed, so there's that. It'll probably outlive me, but it won't be in great shape. So if you were going to get a cart, I would recommend going with a Gorilla cart. That's, God, I just love it. I just love it. It dumps easy. I can use it out here in the yard if I'm working on something, like when I was building the shed. I could put my tools in there and just haul it out and then work right out of there. It's like having a pickup truck. You can't live without them. So that's kind of my video on the update and how it's going. So again, this was purchased in October of 22, and now it's end of August 26, and I have no regrets, none whatsoever. So that's the comparison between the two carts. Obviously the wood cart was, an older model. It certainly wasn't a Gorilla cart. I want to say it was Garden Way, but I really can't remember. It's been so many years. But those wood carts were really popular back then, because you could lift it up and balance the weight. But realistically, half of the cart you really couldn't use if you were carrying something heavy, because it was just too much on you. And that was one of the reasons why I got the Gorilla cart. The Gorilla cart is rated, I think, at 1,200 pounds. Now, if you loaded it with 1,200 pounds, maybe rocks or sand or something, it'd be difficult for a person to move it, but the cart will take the weight. And that's the most important part of it. The dump feature also is fantastic. How the wheels pull together, and it just, I don't know, I can't say enough about it. The only issue that I had, and it was self-inflicted, I'll admit that, is in the directions for how to assemble this thing. And there isn't much assembly in there, but they directed you, I don't know if you can see this, but they directed you to start with the tub upside down. So I had the tub up here on the bench. And there's very clear directions on what goes where, and when it came down to putting the wheels on, they gave you 4 of these handy little pins. And you basically drop the pin through the hole in the axle and then fold this over, and theoretically that holds it on there. Well, mind you, I've got it upside down, and so I went around all 4 wheels and I dropped these things in, flopped them down. Well, some time goes by, And it wasn't even the first year. And then I noticed one day that one of the wheels was like getting really wobbly and the clip was missing. I never found it, you know, so I didn't know how that happened or, you know, anyway, so I just I got another pin, you know, stuck that in there and fixed it, and off we went. Well, another year goes by and the wheel falls out, different wheel falls off. All right, now I'm curious, okay. I found the clip for it at that time. And what I realized I had done is I had misread the directions. And very clearly, I'll find it here, very clearly they show that when you put the clip on, if you have this unit upside down, you slide it up through the axle, not down. Now, of course, the unit was here upside down and I just put it down. Well, what happened was the clip was riding around like this and I got in some brush and accidentally, without realizing it, pulled the brush, or something like pulling it through, grabbed that and made it drop down. Well, there was nothing holding the pin in and it just dropped out. So I guess the only word of caution I can give you is if you do the same thing, make sure you put that pin so that ultimately when it's on its all four wheels on the ground, that the pin is in the downward position with this pulled over. That's it. That's the only issue I've ever had with it. And it was foolishness on my part for not looking closely at the directions, but you know, I can't fault them. So it's a good clip, it's still sturdy, so that's that. So I would say that if you're looking for a cart, now I'm not sure what the pricing is now, but when I bought it, they were running in, this was running in the $180 range. And you know, I thought, well, that's kind of pricey for a cart. Well, I was hoping to get something for $100. I could have got something for $100 and I would not be happy with it. So I would say go with the Gorilla carts. And I know now they have different varieties of them. They have some that are metal with a mesh bed, and so you can easily find one that's going to suit your needs. So with that being said, I guess that's all for today. Just a short video, but I've got to get to work on a few other projects here. So I'll let you go, and maybe in a few days I'll be back. Thanks for watching and enjoy your coffee.